Hello guys, welcome to a new video on Tower of God New World, and in this video I'm going to go over the changes I made to the spreadsheet. I'm sure many of you already saw the new investment tab and also the new visual tier list and also some changes to all other tabs. But yeah, I will mainly focus on going over every single tab and explain what's the reason why I created it and also the changes that I made. I will not focus on the tier list in this video. That's going to be for a dedicated one. So stay tuned for that. It will come soon. But yeah, before starting, I just wanted to mention one quick thing, and that is I invite you guys to leave a comment down below with your feedback on the spreadsheet, if you would do some stuff differently, if you have any additional information that you feel like is missing. Anything is appreciated, so please leave a comment down below or head over to my Discord. There is the spreadsheet feedback channel, and you can open a post there with some additional, feedback, additional ideas and stuff. And I will try to improve on the spreadsheet based on that information. So I would be really happy if you could share your ideas and your thoughts on it, so that I can keep on improving it. That being said, I say we can get started, and we will start with the tab that we're seeing now. That is the first one, the Legend tab. These used to be a lot more messy, a lot more entries. I removed most of the stuff and I only left these things that I would say apply right now. The first part is the one that you already know, guys, the 3 different levels of investment they have in the investment tab, and that's going to be mandatory, recommended, and nice to have. Mandatory to me is like the bare minimum to get a unit to work as it should. Recommended is what I think is a good stopping point for people for that specific unit. And nice to have would be all the things that would improve the performance of the unit in adventure. So it's like fully maxed for adventure, which is not a fully maxed unit, because to me, fully maxing a unit, including also all the subnodes, is something you only do for PvP. So if you are a whale and you are interested in being competitive in PvP, most of the tabs here are not going to be for you. And just know that you will have to invest a shit ton of revolution mats on your units, because all the things that we might ignore in adventure, like crit rate resistance, special move resistance, even though they are still helpful, not gonna lie, but they're like not worth the cost. That's something that you have to invest to if you want to go in PvP, because enemies will have crazy stats and you definitely need all that we can find to help our units survive and deal more damage, etc, etc. So keep in mind, I'm not expecting fully maxed unit even in the nice to have, but we're going to go over that once we reach the investment tab. Now for the second point here, the relevance. It used to be like priority, but I decided to change it to relevance. And here I just gave a ranking based on how frequently a unit is used. So let's say you have a unit accessible to you with the right amount of investment, how likely you are to actually use that unit. That's more or less my thoughts for relevance. So if a unit is a must in terms of relevance, it means that you will most likely use it in almost every time you have the possibility to. High is more or less along the lines of must, is a really strong unit that you're highly likely to use. Medium is like there is a normal possibility of being used. In these tier, let's call it that, there are a wider variety of different units. They could be a bit more situational than the high and must units, but they're still really, really strong and valuable units. From low and below, they are more like situational, niche, and not really that frequently used. So for me, low and very low are units you don't have to focus on early on. They're just somewhat okay. If you have them, you might find a use case for them. Otherwise, not a big deal. And the last one is not applicable, which means this unit has no relevance whatsoever, and you will never use them even if you have them maxed. That's kind of the thing. And yeah, that's my idea for relevance. And again, we're going to see it in the investment tab. For the last one is ranking. And before I kept the regular rank only reserved to family heads, so in this case only Tramray. But after talking with you guys over Discord, I opened it up to some very meta-defining units. So we're going to see also in the visual tier list and in the tier list video that we will have some units there. But the rest of the ranks are pretty much the same. Before I used to have some like deficit information in this tab, but it doesn't really make any sense. So I just gave a very brief and not too important description to a rank. Just know that when I rank a unit, I try to consider survivability, like the team compositions, how hard they are to play and how many units they counter, stuff like that. So consistency and performance are really, really important. So yeah, that's pretty much all for the Legend tab. We can move on to the second one. I didn't make any changes to the other links tab. There is the BBNIC spreadsheet with all information about the game in a clear and structured manner. We have the Archer Q beginner guide, but I think that presentation is pretty outdated right now with all the changes that they made. You can still find his updated beginner guide in my Discord server. He created a whole channel about it, and there is a lot of good stuff there. So it should be probably not 100% updated to the latest trends and releases, but still very, very solid. If you are a new player, I recommend you check it out. And we have also the stat calculator. I already made a video about it. If you want to know more about it, just have a look at it. And yeah, we can move on to the visual tier list that we're not going to really discuss in this video. You can already have a look at it, start thinking about the different rankings if you disagree, so that when I release the actual tier list video, you will have the chance to leave a comment and let me know what you think. Or you can also directly write it in the Discord. I still have the channel where I ask you guys feedback to actually make some massive changes to the tier list. But whatever. The only thing to mention here is that after your recommendation of splitting it between deficit instead of Revolution investment, before it was up to Revolution 3 and up to Revolution 6, now every unit is ranked as at the nice to have investment level, and you will find that also in the investment tab. So all of them are nice to have, and this is just showing how they perform at low deficit and high deficit. This 300 is just indicative. I wrote it before the archive buffs. Now it could probably be increased to like 350, but it doesn't really matter. This is just to say, like, to show the difference between lower deficits and higher deficits, how a unit performance changes. So if we see like that a unit has the same rank in below 300 and above 300, that just means that that unit is really consistent and will work well at higher deficits. If we see a decrease in ranking, means that the higher you push, the harder the content becomes, the worse that unit gets. So there are some units that are susceptible to high deficits, other units that still perform well. And that's what this distinction just shows you. So the trend of a unit, if you see that a unit is performing well now, and you see that also in the above 300 is performing well, means it's a good investment. If you see the trend going down, just means that unit, if the enemies deal too much damage, they will suffer and they will not perform as well, or they will lack damage or whatever. So yeah, just this brief information on this tab. I will say now we can move on to the main tab of my spreadsheet, and that is the investment tab. I added some stuff. I'm going to go over some of the key changes, I would say. So before I had the tier list ranking, let's say, shown here in this part of the spreadsheet. Now I moved it here in dedicated columns, and I will give rankings to every single investment level. This was also a dedicated tab before. That tab is being removed and it's going to be consolidated here. So we're going to have the rankings and the explanation here. This is still work in progress. I did most of them, but I'm still lacking, I'm still missing some. And after I finished, I will just copy and paste on the spreadsheet that all of you guys can already access. So that's one thing. The tier list ranking has been moved from this part of the tab to these columns, and that's about it. Then we also have the priority that previously I assigned to every single element. So extrusion equipment, dupes, report, etc., gear, they all add a priority. Now I just changed it and just put the relevance information here. So we can see every unit how relevant they are. I could make some changes. Actually, I think BAM could go in high, but no, because BAM and Evan are pretty much the same unit. I don't consider them as separate entities for the most part, so whatever. But yeah, you will see all units will have one of the different tiers that we went over while we looked at the legend. And yeah, so that information has been added. We also have the bosses information, which means whether this unit can be used on bosses. Now this is a lot trickier, and actually I'm thinking of removing it from here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. But the thing is, the bossing meta lately didn't really change. There is not really a lot of variety in team comps. And what, like, BAM and Cheonhua, for example, before they had the yes in bosses, now I think I just change it to no. But they could be used early on if you don't have better options. But right now they're not really present in the main comps that are used, at least not that I'm aware. I'm not really a super bossing guy, but still I don't think neither of them is useful. So, I mean, this information is not really that great. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think. But whatever. Is there in case it's needed, but I don't think so. The rest of the things like dupes, extrusion equipment remain the same, report the same, gear as well. I did one change though. On every single unit I removed the slot 1 and 3 investment. Actually the slot 3 is still present for some of them that are evasion based in some way. So some of them still have evasion, but definitely I removed like both of them for most of the units. And I also wrote here sort of the explanation. I said invest in slot 1 or slot 3 only if you lack the accuracy or care about evasion. That's the only scenario I would say. Save your coins. Coins are extremely important, even if it might not seem like it early on, but lately they will be like the biggest bottleneck, I would say, together with Link EXP. So really, really important to not waste your coins in some random places. And all these pieces of gear are really, really expensive. So just be careful when you actually do these kind of upgrades. And yeah, that being said, that's one of the biggest changes that I made. So I removed slot 1 and slot 3. Again, as I previously mentioned, if you are into PvP, you will want to level them up anyway. Just if you are in PvP, you kind of want to fully max everything because accuracy and evasion will be important then. Not so much in adventure. Archive, I believe, is good enough to help you in your progression. You don't really need to invest in this either. You might not even need report, but the report is so cheap nowadays. They just give us so many gifts that it doesn't really matter. You can take a lot of units to level 6. But if you are still in a period where you are short on gifts, then you can also stop at level 4. Not a big deal. But yeah, sooner or later you will get every single unit to level 6. For the ignition weapon part, also no big changes, still the same as before. One big change is the revolution. I removed the revolution tab and I added the information that was present there, so the ability upgrades and also the subnodes priority. I added them here. I also added the information of up to how much you could spend in terms of revolution mats for a unit. So you see here up to. Is not really as clear as before, because before I had every single subnode with the number of levels that you should invest in that. Now that's not the case anymore. I just have a brief total that I expect you to spend on that unit. So yeah, that's more or less it, I would say, for this part. And the way I think you guys should use this information is, let's say you're trying to build a unit and you have limited revolution mats. You should look at it here and see, okay, let's say I'm trying to build a DPS, because this mostly applies to DPS or in general SSR plus units. I wouldn't worry about SSR units because For them, you can just unlock the main node and don't worry entirely about the subnodes, and as I also wrote here at the top in the red comment. And let's say I want to build like Kun Eden, and I'm like, okay, how much could I spend on him if I really want to fully max him? And we see here up to 3,500 green mats, up to 80,000 orange mats, and up to 400 purple mats. That's just fully maxing. For him, it's not even that needed. I could add probably more information here as to which ones are actually really important. But yeah, like actually the information is already there. Like you should try to aim for the ones in bold, and the rest is less important. The ones in italic, so like the accuracy for the most part, and also crit rate on some units, is to be upgraded only up to the needed amount. So again, if you're not into, like if you're into PvP, you have to max everything kind of thing. If you're satisfied with just adventure, you need like accuracy to be at least higher than the enemy evasion, but like the same or higher. You don't really need like 700 more accuracy than the enemy evasion. We don't give a shit. Just the same number or slightly higher. So if you already have that, you don't need to invest in it. If you're slightly lower, then get as much accuracy as needed to go above the enemy evasion. That's all. For the crit rate, you don't need to go above 100%. You already have guaranteed crits. Enemies don't have crit hit resistance. For now, we'll see in hard mode, but for now in adventure they don't. So you don't need to overcap in crit rate either. So those are shown in italic. And I'd say that's more or less it for the revolution part. Those were the changes. Let me know if you think they're pretty good or not. And for the ignition weapons, no big changes from what was shown before. It's still pretty much the same. Where applicable, I wrote some notes. Where not, I didn't. So like for some useless units like huts, I didn't do anything here. For units that don't really have variations, I didn't write them. But yeah, that's more or less the idea here, I'd say. And we can move on to the next tab, which is the ignition weapon presets. I added in the name of the tab yearly mid-game because I think these sets, like you will see units having very customized and very high-end sets in this section of the spreadsheet. I try to push you guys to build, like for example, let's take, where is white? No, okay, maybe white is not really the best example. Let's take Asensio, should be a fine one. Yeah, like this guy is running magic resistance slot 4 and slot 5 physical pierce. This is not something I would recommend people just starting out that like to focus on. You should go magic resistance, physical resistance, and that's it. Physical pierce is just to min-max it, and you should then customize the set for strength users so that you can get 100%, well, 99% physical resistance even without running slot 5 physical resistance. So yeah, that's more or less the thing, is really more customized set, while the ignition weapon presets are what I think you should focus on early on, to just have some sets you can swap between units. They are mainly focusing on resistances, except for a few exceptions that are more for ranged DPSs or DPSs with high invincibility frames. For everyone else, you kind of go resistances. You care more about the fact that they stay alive, and early on, while you don't have the third page unlocked on the True Essence, you don't have a lot of resistances there, and your ignition weapons are not that great because you couldn't farm many. Definitely is better to have more survivability than damage. That will come later, not a big deal. So yeah, this is more focusing on some early sets that you can build and share between units. And also here there is an information about how many units are using it, just to give you more of a prioritization. This is not really 100% accurate. It's taking the information from, again, the investment tab, that here we have this preset. This is what is adding up for that count that we saw 2 seconds ago here. So yeah, just to give you an idea, I try to also give some priorities here, like Rafflesia, Locasia. To be honest, I could also put that one in higher priority because also Wansela will come along way early on. So let me just do that. And yeah, just some initial ideas of presets. The next tab is one that I changed. Before it was ignition weapons, like units or something, where we're showing for every single ignition weapon set which units could potentially use it. But now I decided to change it to sort of a brief description, and where it applied, I also provide some more additional information on the set and the use cases. It's not really rocket science, it's pretty basic stuff, but I hope these kind of descriptions can help identifying when or when not to keep a certain set on a unit. Especially when new unit comes out, you can also have a look at these descriptions and say, okay, this unit, I see that they can fit in this set, etc., etc. This is more or less the purpose of this page. Let me know if the description and information I wrote is not clear or maybe incomplete, because I might have missed something here. It was really done a bit quickly, to be honest, this part, but we'll see. Next, we have the Trescence facility. This is also a really important page. I distinguished between below 400 accuracy from the archive and above 400. I will say is like this 400 is not necessarily a hard limit or whatever, a defined number. Could be lower, could be higher. You could already start leaning more towards the one on the right. If you see that you have way more accuracy than the enemy evasion, you could start doing it already. Obviously, your first priority is to unlock the 3 pages. This is just for after you did that. Before then, it doesn't make sense. Just lock every single aid that you find and you're good. This is just afterwards what you should try to build towards. I will say that all the accuracy nodes will not be needed in general. So if you see that you already have way more accuracy than the enemy evasion, you can already start like ignoring this accuracy and putting either magic resistance or crit rate, or you could even put evasion, to be honest. Now evasion is also totally viable, and there are some people running a lot of evasion in their trees, totally fine. And you can also start putting more swiftness on the second part. I would say that most people that are focused mainly on bossing and PvP tend to go with full swiftness on dexterity, and some of them even on intelligence. I would recommend not to do it because this really has an impact on your adventure and the difficulty of building your ignition weapons. Because the only people that compete in PvP, and I will say it again, are whales that spend a shit ton of resources in ignition weapon, in revolution, etc. They have crazy good sets, and they also have really invested units. They also have crazy high links, so they will not be playing at a deficit in adventure. So they don't really care about having a Trescence facility that is optimized for PvE. They just care about dealing as much damage as possible, evading enemies' attack, etc., etc. All of these is just for PvE again, so mainly adventure. And this is just my recommendation in general. You can try to follow it, you can change it, especially stat 1. If you feel like instead of crit rate you want to go with evasion, you can do it. If you feel like you want to overcommit in magic resistance, you can do it as well. You can also go every single node magic resistance, no big deal. Kind of up to you. But yeah, this is just sort of a example of what I'm kind of running. I'm still changing and adapting it, but this is more or less what I run. It works well, and it makes building ignition weapons fairly easy. I'm still super unlucky somehow, so I have an hard time building ignition weapon sets, but definitely easier than just having full swiftness on intelligence and dexterity. So yeah, actually in strength you could remove some swiftness for some more physical resistance. That's doable, but up to you again. And yeah, that was pretty much it for the 3Essence tab. I didn't make any changes. I just wanted to like re-explain a bit more how this tab works. Then we have the unit priority tab. Previously it was called wish list. I changed it and I made this kind of format. I'm still not sure about these priorities, especially for the SSR. I just threw the pictures of the key ones here and I still have to reorganize them in terms of like if you're a new player, which ones should come first, etc., etc. Then I added the all the units that you should have at least one copy of, the SSR Plus, that really come in handy. So these are some of the really good ones. And then in terms of duping your SSR Plus units, which ones should come first? It is still work in progress, as I wrote here at the top. So I'm still adapting it. I will maybe ask some other people that have a lot of experience in IR deficit and can really see which kind of units have a major impact, etc. And I will probably try to rearrange something. But this is the new format. Let me know if it's clear enough for you, if it's good, or if I should change anything. For the next tab, we have the bosses tab. And other than the quant fight, that is fairly easy and I don't think there are many changes. Probably there could be some more units, but fine, more or less the team is always the same kind of thing. For the other bosses, the comps that I have here are still to be updated. So I wrote this sort of banner here, old comps not ideal anymore. And I will have to change them again with newer comps. I'm not 100% sure what the best for each and every one of them is anymore. I will try and rearrange them. But yeah, either Kaiser or White are going to be needed. All these Rachels that we see here, well, many people won't even have her anymore. She was the first collab SSR Plus unit. But yeah, she's not there anymore. White would be. And also the team comps would change quite a bit. This guy wouldn't really be there. Probably not even BAM. Bloodroad neither. And Warion also would be excluded. So yeah, we have a lot of different units now. And I will try my best to remake them. Let me know if this kind of tab makes sense to you, or if I should just not even bother and not do it. And yeah, just let me know in the comments. Then for the secret floor, this is also not really updated with the latest units. I don't even remember when I made this tab, so it was a long time ago. Not many units like really came out from then, since then. And we still have like a Kun run here that is not really a great or relevant unit anymore. And yeah, I would say they still work. You can still use these units and these comps. I will try to adapt them without using units that I gave the not applicable relevance, because that would be pretty dumb if I say you don't need a unit and then I show it to you in these comps. So they're still valid, but also not so much, like not updated. They work, but not updated. For upgrading idea, I couldn't beat it without ignition weapons and without anything at 50 restraints, because this is probably the hardest secret floor that we have. So finding a team that people without many dupes, without much investment could clear was pretty tricky. Maybe now with the latest units we can do something, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, this is still empty for that reason. Then we have Sela and Rafflesia. They're both really good, like really easy dungeons to clear and really good ignition weapons. For Rafflesia, I just copied the Sela one, so the compositions are the same. These are not like the recommended compositions. I don't know why here recommended units is present 2 times. We'll just delete it. Okay, whatever. I just also changed the information for the 2 teams. I still didn't write anything here in the weaknesses, so I will just get rid of that. And yeah, still no compositions here. I will just try it out and try to put something in. Let me know if it makes sense also to have this page, because maybe it's just wasted time and it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I don't know if you guys now still have issues with new accounts to clear the secret floor, because I created it when people were having a hard time with it. There was a time where like you could unlock the secret floor, but you couldn't clear anything, not even at 0 restraint. So I decided to put together some sort of random units you could put together even on no dupes, and they should work. But I don't think it's really that important anymore. So I will probably get rid of it, but let me know in the comments. Then we have the status effects tab. And here I just added the different status effects that we have in the game. It's not updated. I still have to add frost and probably the last 7 or 8 units. Actually, really not that updated. But yeah, this I think is helpful at times, especially when you don't remember, oh, which unit had a, I don't know, stun, and then you go here and you see all the units that do. Or which units have an HP recovery block. I need to see where it was, but I'm pretty sure I added it. So we have barrier break, I don't care. HP recovery block, we have it here as an example. We have more units, but again, I didn't update it with the latest one, so there is no Crown of Fury, there is no Ice Spear Kunagero, etc., etc. But I will add them. I don't know if I will use this kind of format that we're seeing here, where I split like the base skill, so that they have in the base kit, then the Exodia Equipment, then the Revolution. And I don't even know if I will do it like that. Maybe I will create like sort of tags and I will add them in the investment tab, and maybe we'll do some additional columns here. We'll see. And in terms of additional columns, I was also thinking of making like a column for key teammates or potential good teams, stuff like that, to also showcase some good synergies for the units. I think that's helpful, and I will probably think about it and do it. But yeah, I can also add some sort of column for status effects. The thing about this tab is that it was easy to navigate. So you say, okay, let me find a knockdown, and then you have all the units with knockdown. If I add it in the investment tab, then you would have to look for it. You can always use the function of Google Sheets and just say find, and then you write the name of the effect that you want to see, and then you go next, 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 and you see all the units. So it's still somewhat usable, but I think this is clearer at a glance. So we'll think of a way to do it, and then I will let you know. If you have good ideas, again, I look forward to hearing from you. But yeah, this is more or less it for the status effects tab. Then we also have the beginner player Q&A. I don't think I removed some of them that didn't apply anymore. I think these ones are just some very generic and basic questions that I wrote. So fine. If you have more that you feel like should be added here, let me know. If you feel like some of them are a bit outdated, I think I fixed most of it, but there might be something that I missed. Let me know as well. And yeah, that's more or less it. Just some basic questions. I didn't really make any big changes. Then we have a tab with elemental advantage to show how it works and how it impacts the damage. I will say not too important. I still keep it here just as a reference, but it's not really something to look at that frequently. Then we have R and SR units, which ones are okay, and the use cases, like whether you should upgrade them or not, whether they're used or not. I would say more or less this applies still, like this is still valid. But with the way that the game is working, SSR units are becoming more and more irrelevant, and SR and R units even more so. So unless they really have some niche use cases where you really want to use them, I would say you don't even have to bother to upgrade some of them. Maybe just look at the ones with yes, that are not many. They're like 6 or 7. This guy actually, let me put a no on him because it doesn't make any sense anymore, to be honest. Oh, I don't even have an A defined here. I will add it. Whatever. So yeah, there are not really that many good units that you should even focus on. Also these guys. This guy is entirely useless. Super Dude, kind of useless. This guy is also kind of useless. So yeah, there are so many bad units here. The only acceptable ones would be Gosang, Gray, then we could say Apple and Chung Chung. Everyone else you can ignore. And even those ones that I just mentioned are very situational. Probably Goseng is the best one out of them. But yeah, not really that great units. They're just kind of trash. And yeah, that's all I'd say. The last tab is just a changelog where I add information about what I change. And yeah, that's more or less it, I'd say. I don't know if you have any question, guys, about this, if you have any additional ideas. I will try not to add too many tabs because it's really a lot and it's difficult to maintain multiple tabs. I'd rather add more column where applicable to the investment tab so that people can just scroll over and find the information they need for the specific unit. So yeah, I look forward to hearing from you, your feedbacks and your ideas, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!